Hi there. Today I'm going to read a story for you. The title is You Can Fool Others, but Can You Fool Yourself? There was once a man who was extremely rich. God had blessed him and his house with money, wives, and slaves. But the blessing was like an excess of rain to the farmer, which spoils the crop instead of making it grow. For the rich man had no child. However much he tried, all was in vain, for his wives would not conceive. Now as the man was getting old, became very unhappy. Should slaves inherit his property? Should he leave no child behind to lay him in the grave? In the end, he thought of a trick. He entrusted his properties to his head slave. He packed his calabashes and baskets and he set out for another town. He settled down in the new town under a different name, and as soon as he could, he bought a young slave woman who had just given birth to a child. He brought the child up like his own son, and when he was 7 years old, he disposed of the mother and returned home. He told everybody that the mother who had borne this child for him had died. There was a great rejoicing among his friends, for they believed that at last he had an heir. The child grew up to be a young man, and his father established trade for him. For years they lived very happily together, but their happiness was built on a lie, like a road that is constructed on a swampy ground. And lies are like bats. As long as they are kept in the dark, they elude everybody silently and swiftly. But when exposed to the light of the day, they hang stupid and defenseless for anybody to see and pick up, and they appeared the ugliest creatures on earth. Now one day the son said to his father, "Father, let us count our slaves, for we have so many of them that we would hardly notice it if one of them ran away." Now the father got very worried about this ambition of his son. No wise man would disturb the soldier ants when they passed through his house. Once confused, they will swarm all over his property, causing destruction. Leave the slaves alone, for when the slaves are counted, the slave shall be sad. And the rich man was afraid for his son, but he knew not how to help him. For when we see a man sleep walking on the top of the roof, we dare not wake him up, for we know that he will crash down. The son would not heed the father's advice, and early next morning he assembled all the slaves, and he called his father to have them counted. At last the father had to agree on the counting. But who can describe the horror of the son when he found himself to be the first man counted? That day the son wept bitterly, and he beat his head and threw himself to the ground, but not even his father could help him now. No hen will ever hatch a broken egg, and a truth that is once spoken cannot be taken back, like the water of the river that never passes the same place twice. The rich man died soon after for a broken heart. Because we can fool the world for a long time, but no one is clever enough to fool himself. The end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. The story is read by Mariam Boukaidi.